Witch Hunter is a strange card. Witch Hunter is a 1/1 creature that costs 2 and 2 white mana to cast. You can tap Witch Hunter to deal a damage to target player. You can also pay 1 and 2 white mana and tap Witch Hunter to return a target creature that an opponent controls from the battlefield to its owner's hand. So this is a white creature that can ping an opponent or bounce a creature an opponent controls. That kind of feels more like a red and blue effect than a white effect, doesn't it? Well, actually at the time, blue had access to pinging, so you could just say it feels like a blue card. This is a pretty strange card, not only by modern standards, but even by the standards at the time. So I'm pretty excited to talk about this one. I think this card, more than any other card I've talked about, requires some level of context. Now, if you're not familiar with my stupid long-form content, I have a 5.5-hour video discussing every card from the Dark. Now that's obviously a massive time investment, so if you aren't interested, I'll just sum up the Dark a little bit for the sake of this card and this video. The Dark is really different from the sets that came before and after it for a couple of reasons. Most notably, this set was designed almost exclusively by Jesper Myrfors, who was the first art director for Magic. There were other people involved, but Jesper made this set mostly on his own, because there was a gap in the release schedule and he kinda just said, fuck it, why not? Being an artist instead of, like I guess a math nerd, like most of the other designers at the time were, gave Jesper the ability to approach design from a very different perspective. The Dark is the first set that had any regard for emotional theming. The Dark was also a criticism of the satanic panic that was popular at the time as, pastors and Karens pointed at things like D&D and Magic and screamed about the moral degradation of society at the hand of these, games. As for the set itself, the Dark was set after the Silex explosion caused by Urza, but before the Ice Age it caused occurred. Because of the explosion, clouds and, fucking dust or whatever, blotted out the sun, and the environment grew colder and resources became scarce as grifters and charlatans wielded their charisma to gain wealth and influence by pointing the blame of everyone's suffering at the hands of all users of magic. This setting took inspiration from such things as the Salem witch trials and the Dark Ages. This set explores the idea of mistrusting others and those different than you, and it expresses this concept without directly telling you in ways that I personally find really interesting. Many cards in the Dark have very strict color requirements in their mana cost, with many of these cards requiring 2 or 3 of a single color to cast, with one card even requiring 4 green mana to cast. This is to make it harder to use multiple colors in your deck, which is meant to help segregate each color to help sell the idea of distrust and fighting for resources as the world around darkens and dies. There are also many cards in the set that are considered a color break, and while part of this is because the color pie was less understood back then, there's a whole bunch of reasons, but I do think that there is part of this that is trying to communicate the desperation and ingenuity of people when their back is against the wall. This is the first set with enemy color support as well, to showcase the changing environments and adaptability required in trying times. At least that's how I see it. But white itself is especially interesting in the Dark. Each color exhibits all of the design elements, but it's most jarring and noticeable with white specifically. Up until this point, white was the good guy color, with most of its cards depicting angels or healing or community support with themes of farming or civilization or defense. Now, there were always aspects of white that a reasonable person could object to, but they were fewer and farther between than with any other color except for maybe green. In the Dark, white showcases its uglier side, with Tividar's Crusade showcasing the us versus them mentality and the cruelty expressed to those that are different. And of course, Preacher showcases art of a hate-filled leader of people riling up his congregation into a mob. or the art that depicts an angry mob itself. Now, some of this could be considered color pie breaks, as I've said, and, to some degree it is. But I think it does it for the case of story, and I don't think it does it in a way that is necessarily the most objectable. Anyway, that's how I personally see the situation, but I'm more than willing to hear what you have to say about the dark if you have any strong feelings towards it. And with that context out of the way, let's finally turn our attention to Witch Hunter. This card has always fascinated me. Its art is pretty unsettling, and its effects are a bit strange. It's one of the better examples of the evil white is capable of, in my opinion, which is a pretty explored concept these days, but at the time was mostly a new idea. When I look at the context, Witch Hunter makes sense to me. There is definitely power in rallying people against someone different, and there is definitely power in pushing the blame of things onto other people and scapegoatism. I've personally always seen its ability to ping one damage as a way of expressing a witch hunter's ability to subtly increase doubt. As I understand it, with my limited understanding of all this, is that in, witch hunting situations, it was rare that a person in good standing that was useful would be accused of being a witch. And if that had to happen for somebody else, they would first be planting seeds of doubt. I see this damage as a representation of the witch hunter slowly, talking shit and suggesting nefarious motives of the opponent. Its ability to bounce is something that I personally kind of see as representing either rallying the crowd to seize assets or to run things out of town kind of thing, or the creatures themselves distancing themselves from those that are to be accused. Now, I don't think either of these mechanics are perfect at representing what they are trying to showcase, and I'm also not even sure that my interpretation is correct. But I've always found this card to be flavorful, and I personally don't even see it as a color pie break when viewed from the context of the set. If you disagree with me, I understand that, and I'm not even sure I agree with myself, so don't take this as me telling you that this card is not a color break, just me expressing that I think it's more nuanced than that, much like the subject matter this set is exploring. The world is not black and white, and rarely are things paragon or evil. I really like this card and this whole set because it plays into that theming really well. This card also kinda sucks, at least in Eternal formats and such, but it is reasonably strong in a limited environment. Any creature over 3 mana that gets bounced is a major setback, especially during a time when the only haste is Nether Shadow or Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning is really cool though. Still, I don't actually have much to say about the card's mechanics. At least not in a sense of oh, this is good or this is bad or this is how you do something with it. Even at the time, this wasn't super efficient. The more interesting things about this card are that it's flavorful in its own way and that the mechanics are not commonly seen on white creatures. And I think that does a great job of trying to express what the card is trying to express. But that's really all I have to say about it. So let's move on to the art and call this video donezo. Witch Hunter was printed 3 times, but it only has the one art. Originally printed in the dark, reprinted in Chronicles, and then brought back for a laugh in Time Spiral. This was illustrated by Jesper Meerfers, and I really like this art. The details are solid, but what's more is the emotion that this card is capable of evoking. It's rare that white cards have any level of "this is scary" in their art, or at least it was rare. Not, unheard of, but pretty rare. There are so many Magic cards these days, and a lot of white cards are pretty scary these days, especially in sets that involve Phyrexia. But this was untrampled ground at the time. And I'm not sure you ever actually get to disturbing white cards and white art like Crawling Chorus or Silence if you don't start exploring this idea in the dark. Still, we all see the world from our own lens, and I'm interested to see how you see Witch Hunter. Please let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, and why you think the way that you do, if you're willing to take the time, of course. Far be it from me to tell you what to do. Oh yeah, and this is just a side note, but if you're one of the 5 people that disliked my Bird Maiden video at the time of writing this, I just want you to know that that was the most devastating emotional damage I've received since I started posting bad videos on YouTube. So I guess my hat's off to you. I can't believe you'd do this to Bird Maiden. Yeah, that's all I have to say about any of this, though. You can like the video if you like it. You can subscribe if you give a shit. But either way, I hope you have a magical day. Thank you for watching.